Hello and welcome to Horror Cult Trash Over, the show that discusses all of the masterpieces and trashterpieces of genre cinema. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And Nasty November continues.
Week 2 of Nasty November.
Yeah. And we are still diving into the Section 3 category of things. And Section 3, a little more tame, would you say? But then it's hard to say because there's a lot of tame films in Section 1. It's all a lot of bullshit, really. But gives us a theme to talk about, so I can play.
It opens the conversation up a little more.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And a first for Nasty November, for this week's special guest, but by no means a first on this podcast, because he's actually the star of our second most popular episode of all time.
Yeah.
This week, we have a good friend of ours returning, and we're always happy to discuss trashterpieces with him. He's the man responsible for my love of trashterpieces. He's an artist, and he's the guitarist for VideoX. It's Xander. He's back.
Hello. Hi.
Nasty November, when we started having guests for this, I always knew we eventually need to have you back on here for this, because there are a lot of trashterpieces within Video Nasties era.
I was, to be honest, like, you gave me the list, and I was like, I'm going to go through these all. I was going by the list. I was looking at the trailers, and I came across this one, and I thought, oh my God, this is 100% a film I would have watched with Gaz. So, it's like, I had to do it.
Do you have a favourite Video Nasty?
I don't have a favourite Video Nasty. I suppose the one that is a classic, and I've always is Cannibal Holocaust, because I've always been like a big found footage kind of fan, and that was one of the first. So I think I've got a soft spot for that. As much as you can do with small animals being named in films. I've got a soft spot for it.
And Cannibal Holocaust, by all means, Animal Violence Society is a great film, and there's a lot of great films on the Video Nasty list. But today, we're not talking about one of those. We're talking about Dawn of the Mummy from 1981.
Yeah.
You watched the trailer. You told me to watch the trailer, and immediately I was sold.
Yeah.
The idea of mummies versus models. Why not? It's perfect for this podcast.
I must say I wasn't surprised.
Do you know what? My initial thought was, oh my God, we've got to do this. And my second thought was, oh God damn, Chris is gonna fucking kill me.
Chris, you had fun.
Film happened. Yeah.
Was it an experience?
It was an experience. I have to say, I was verging on being entertained. And I thought, Xander's done really well here. And then by the end of the film, I was like, no, it's on brand. Pretty much.
I was thoroughly entertained throughout.
I tried to keep it consistent with these films. So if I'm suggesting something, it's kind of like, I just hope they're having a drink while watching it, at least, just to get them through it all.
Honestly, we don't drink anymore, so this is entirely sober.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
All of our trashterpieces are sober now, so it's okay. We know what we're letting ourselves in for.
Okay, well, I still apologise for Dawn of the Mummy.
But this would be a perfect film with drinking game. Every time you can't see something, take a drink and fucking hammered.
I didn't know if it was just my failing eyes, so I'm really glad that you said
that. No, yeah. The cinematography is really weird, because the cinematography has some really nice moments, but then it has moments where you just can't see a thing.
Well, I was reading through the Wikipedia just to try and work out what was going on, and I was like, did that happen? I was like, can't they see them? They turn their brightness up 500%.
Well, you know what podcast you're on. We've got to analyse it scene for scene soon, so let's get to that. First, it's written and directed by Frank Agrama, who directed Queen Kong, which we are desperate to see, because we actually saw the star of Queen Kong on the tram in Manchester, didn't we?
We certainly did.
Ruler Rulenska. She was just on the tram and I was like, oh my God, it's the star of Queen Kong.
You should have said hi. That would have absolutely made their day.
Yeah.
Please say you said hi.
Unfortunately not. I was too starstruck. I mean, most people know her for Coronation Street. And
No.
Big Brother.
Let's be clear. Everyone knows Rulenska for her moment with George Galloway on Big Brother, where he pretended to be a cat, and she, would you like me to be the cat? And she pretended to feed him some milk from her hands, and it was strange and weird. And somehow more entertaining than Dawn of the Mummy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, she was there by the Trafford Centre with a Starbucks on the tram. Unbeknownst that there's two queers in the corner, just being like, "Oh my God, it's Queen Kong! It's the star."
Do you know what? If she knew that, I bet she'd absolutely I've been so happy with that.
Yeah. If we see her again, then hopefully we'll have a copy of Queen Kong with us, ready for her to sign.
Get something signed for me.
He's also directed Love Game, Al Karun, Storm Over Petra, Gang of Women, Game of Choice, Fire of Love, and more. Prolific, clearly.
Yeah, and he's actually an Egyptian director as well, which I think is pretty cool, really, because the film in many ways is actually still quite respectful to Egyptian culture.
That surprised me. Yeah.
Sometimes you don't get with mummy stories.
Yeah.
I still feel it kept it respectful to the culture in Egypt. And was actually shot in Egypt.
And had no white people playing Egyptians.
Yes, thankfully.
Yeah. Miracle.
I thought it was Italian. I don't know why.
Oh my God, yes.
It's an Italian production team. But an Egyptian writer-director. So that's how they happened to be able to film in Egypt, I'm assuming. Because of the director. So
it's also a gigantic zombie flesh eaters ripoff as well.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
It's co-written by Daria Price, who wrote Take Off and The Nesting, and Ronald Dobrin, who was his only other piece of work other than this was Queen Kong.
I'm sorry, Queen what?
Yeah, Queen Kong. Yeah, the Rulenska film.
Oh, Queen Kong. Sorry, I completely misheard you on that.
What did you think I said?
I honestly thought you said Queen Cock. I was like, wait, what?
I mean, by all accounts, Queen Kong is a sex comedy, so it could go by either names, really.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
It's made, Dawn of the Mummy was made on a budget of $500,000, and I can't tell you how much it made because that information is not available anywhere.
But we didn't get Dawn of the Mummy 2, so I'm assuming it wasn't.
Wasn't a great. Well, it got banned.
No,
huge.
It did get banned. That's true. But this was
in America.
So I don't think it got banned in America. But Section 3 were the ones that you can't get prosecuted for owning them, but you can still have them removed from you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't. Yeah, thanks a lot, Tories. It's also went by the title Zombie 6: The Mirage.
What? Why Zombie 6?
That was many years later.
Yeah, so it was trying to be Zombie Flesh Eaters while selling itself as one of its many unofficial sequels.
Yeah.
Oh my God, no!
For a random DVD release.
Yeah.
Zombie 6. But that happened so much, didn't it?
Yeah, considering this was made before Zombie 2, right?
Yes.
Or Zombie 3, whatever it's known as.
Zombie Flesh Eaters
I lose
2, which would be Zombie 3. But also Zombie Flesh Eaters was pretending to be a sequel to
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead, which was called Zombie in Italy, and let's call the whole thing off.
Yeah. Which is the one which has that really iconic poster, the one with like, it's kind of like, it's obviously a zombie, but he's like missing an eye and there's like worms hanging out of his face. And is it Zombie with an eye? Which one is that?
Yeah, so that's Zombie Flesh Eaters, also known as Zombie with an I, Zombie with an E, and 1,000 other names like every Italian horror film.
No, Zombie with an Eye is Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some where Zombie Flesh Eaters has been marketed as that as well.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets a little confusing.
Yeah.
Get anything to get a little bit of money out of people. Ridiculous.
Shall we talk about who's in this? Because as surprising as it is, there are some people that are well known.
There's a few in it. And we discussed them in a section we like to call Hey, I Know You.
So off the bat, does anyone recognise anyone?
No.
No, I recognise absolutely nobody.
Am I meant to?
Well, let's start with Brenda Seimer Scheider, who plays Lisa. She was in Remington Steele, Oza, Rocky 2,
No.
Sequest DSV, Take This Job and Shove It, and also the director of In My Hands, A Story of Marfan Syndrome.
Okay. I remember as Deep Sea DSV, was it?
Yeah.
Sequest, yeah. So she actually went on to marry Roy Scheider. So she was only Brenda Seimer in this film, but she went on to marry Roy Scheider in 1989, and they were married until his death. So then she became Brenda Seimer Scheider.
Oh, okay.
Oh, where did you find that information?
I know my people. It was just wicked. The Scheider confused me, so I did a little research, and yeah, she was married to the guy from Jaws.
There we go.
Oh shit! Small world.
Barry Sattels plays Bill. He was in Remington Steele, Airwolf, Hotel, Choke, Body of Night, Last Stop, Inside Out 3, not that Inside Out, Banzai Runner, Scarecrow and Mrs. King, Baywatch Nights, and more. So is anyone aware of what Baywatch Nights is?
I do. I've got a soft spot because it's so fantastically shit that it's just, it's just a work of art. It's
So is it the same sort of thing as Hollyoaks After Dark? So like the more adult side of Baywatch?
I thought it was kind of like if like Baywatch met the X-Files. Like that's how I saw Baywatch Nights. It was
okay.
I felt like it was kind of a cash-in of the X-Files at the time. At least that's what I got it from the few episodes that I saw, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Okay, I really need to see this.
We need to watch Baywatch. Baywatch looks like it can hold a bit of fun.
Oh, Baywatch is a classic.
So it's not like Footballers' Wives Extra Time.
With aliens.
With aliens.
Yeah. That series needs to be made.
George Peck plays Rick, and he's a star of Curse of the Puppet Master, Death Trap, Anywhere But Here, Agent on Ice, Manhattan Night, Celebrity Ghost Stories, Phil Spector, and more. Now, that's not Celebrity Ghost Stories Phil Spector edition. No. It's two separate things.
Isn't that the guy who killed his wife?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to contact that ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, he killed B-movie. Forgive me, I can't remember. But she was an actress, and yeah, he shot her.
I feel Rick has also been in something else as well, featuring like a mystery machine and like
I know what you mean. He is definitely going for Fred, and I honestly, his performance is on another level, especially once we get to the third act. I mean,
yeah, completely.
He was going for it. He thought he was getting an Oscar.
Bless his heart.
I thought he was also giving Popeye in a bad wig.
With a neckerchief.
Yeah. Popeye had a neckerchief, didn't he? But he had his backwards.
Oh, that's true. I was more astonished the fact he would wear these like white vests. And bear in mind he's in Egypt and he's going for a tomb and whatnot. You know, and they're immaculate. They're perfectly white. I just got respect for that. Keep them.
I think he was like washing them between each take.
Yes.
And finally, we have Ahmed Ratib as Omar. He was in Al Irabi, Kulthum, Critical Moments, Detention Letter, Molana, Nawara, The Nightmare, I Need a Man, 3/4 Decent, and more.
Yeah, I think he was kind of
The porn star.
prolific in. No, he wasn't. No, quite
No.
prolific in Egyptian cinema.
I was hoping I Need a Man was a porn film.
No,
Maybe
no.
a porn actor as well.
Ellen Faison.
Was a porn actress.
Yes, so she played June.
Oh, okay.
So she was
Really?
in Bloodsucking Freaks, Who Killed Mary, What's Her Name, New York Nights, End of the Road, and then she seems to have been in some adult movies as well. So Visions, Love in Strange Places, Chorus Call, The New York City Woman, and Sweet Sweet Freedom. So a lot of them were directed by Roberta Findlay, so who was quite well known for being a female sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Porn director, but exploitation director, B movies. So she directed The Oracle and such. And
that was
Sisters.
June.
That was
Yeah.
June. That was June. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's cool.
I wonder what the strange places were where she found love.
I don't know. I find a lot of these.
The ear.
Yeah,
I was thinking like ran back at McDonald's or.
Yeah. Oh, okay then.
You never know where you're going to find love.
I mean,
Yeah.
okay. Would you like me to read the synopsis for Love in Strange Places?
Yeah, shall we talk about our films?
I know now.
Yeah. So, medical insurance not necessary for admission.
It is about skull fucking. I knew it.
I've never read this before, so forgive me if anything in this is disgraceful. When Nurse Blue gets a job at the hospital for the sexually insane, she knows she'll have her work cut out for her. After all, a ward full of orgasm addicts is enough to keep anyone's hands full. When she arrives at the hospital, the situation is crazier than she expected. The two directors of the hospital, Dr. Hook, played by John Holmes, and Dr. Fraud, practice a rather unusual form of therapy wherein sex is the key for recovery. Nurse Blue discovers that the hospital is filled with hysterical patients who believe they're doctors and nurses.
Why are we not discussing that?
I'm not sure.
Sex addicts is sex, apparently.
Dr. Hook and Dr. Fraud.
It's definitely a post Deep Throat
Yeah.
film.
Are we
definitely.
assuming then is June in this film? Is she Nurse Blue?
No, she's not. No,
Oh,
no.
that's a
She
shame.
played a character called Cleopatra in
Ah.
that film. Yes.
Oh, good
Well,
job.
I feel like I'm learning so much.
Can we do this film? Let us this one.
They should have done a crossover. Like the mummy ends up in that hospital.
She's like, you look really familiar.
So now that's out the way. Should we talk about our feature presentation?
Yes, but
Dawn of the Mummy. What terror have these young Americans brought upon themselves? How will they escape the Pharaoh's deadly wrath? His armies rising from beneath the ageless sands to avenge their master's honor.
Help me, please! Help me!
No one is safe. Nothing can stop him. There is nowhere to hide. They just keep coming. Armies of the living dead, thirsting for blood. They are everywhere, and their quest for vengeance knows no limits.
So in ancient Egypt, during the 4th millennium BC, slave raiders abduct several villagers to be servants for the burial of Pharaoh Sephirama. And This is accompanied by some very over-the-top and badly dubbed gasps and a rip-off of the Jaws theme song.
I personally like, because I was really confused because they're like, oh, it's Saffron Man. Like I thought, oh, okay, this is like the Mummy while he was alive. He's just there, his moves, bouncing softly in the wind, on top of a horse, and just casually goes around like abusing children and grabbing people. I had no idea that this was anything to do with later on in the movie whatsoever. I just thought it was just having a bit of a laugh. That's just what he does.
Just his general hobbies.
Yeah, before his mummification, he likes a bit of casual child abuse and
Yeah, it's a strange opening. I think, the gasps were my highlight of it all. I mean, they were something else.
The dubbing is dubious, should I say. In the grand tradition of Italian or Italian-style horror films, the dubbing is suspicious. It's a strange dub.
And the Jaws theme song kind of hits differently now that we know about Lisa and who she's married to.
Yeah, that's true.
So they're ordered to stand around the pharaoh's sarcophagus, and they're killed with a poison gas, and the entrance to his tomb is sealed. The high priestess who attended the burial proclaims that he who enters the tomb after it is sealed will die on the dawn of the mummy. Love the transition here because we see it close, we see the smoke come out of it, and then thousands of years later, in the present day, the smoke's still coming out of it. And three men, Rick, Tariq, and Karib, detonate the tomb and uncover its entrance.
Right. The one thing that really struck me was the guy who's being, I'm guessing, mummified. He's alive. He's taking it like a champ. He's got his top cut out. He's just, it's nothing. And then I didn't get that they were being gassed. All I knew is like 5 people were standing around this guy who's just had his heart cut out. And then they just rest their heads on the tomb. I just thought they were just like having a little stand-up nap. And this woman she uses she says something like, don't listen to what they say. He's not a cruel man. The way of Saffron Man is sacred. And he's been a knob. He's been nothing but a knob within the first scene. I've got respect for him for getting his heart ripped out and being like, this is nothing, come at me. But he's quite clearly a dick, and everyone's, just going along with it.
And this is all set into motion because of him being a dick.
Exactly. And the fact he's literally gone out and done this before his mummification, he's just like running around the desert, beating up women, grabbing them by the hair, He's quite clearly a prick. You're not going to paint this any other way.
Yeah, and you're a grade A prick when you're still a prick beyond the grave as well. When you come back to life and you're still being a knob to everyone.
Prick from beyond the grave.
And as far as the poison gas goes, I think the smoke machine budget was pretty low that day.
Okay, that's what it was.
I think obviously they had to make it a colourful smoke to make sure we knew that it was poisonous gas. I mean, it does come off a little stagey, doesn't it?
Rick warns the other two to wait until the next morning as the air around the uncovered tomb is poisoned. The high priestess, now an elderly woman with less teeth, screams and tells him that the tomb is cursed, but is scared off when Rick shoots his pistol in the air. Good old toxic masculinity.
I'd be funny. She looks good for her age. I mean, we're talking thousands of years. I mean, she looks like a bag of shit. But considering she's thousands of years old, she looks all right. Oh my God.
She's got like a grey wig going on. And initially, I wrote, because I didn't know who the hell she was. I didn't make the connection that she was the princess. And I think her name's like Xena. So I just wrote down Xena Warrior Princess and think of anything of it. And it's the priestess. She's looking great, 6,000 years old. But is Rick American?
Yes.
Yeah.
How the hell they got that gun through customs? I know it was like, but I mean, surely they're not that lenient. It's like, what's this? Oh, it's just a pistol. Don't even worry about it.
Different times.
Different
yeah,
times. Different times.
Simpler times.
Yeah, Rick is a fashion icon.
No, it's not.
And it gets better as the film goes on as well, his outfits. At this point, he's a little subdued. You know, he was actually a little forgettable at this point. But then as it goes on, he wants to make sure this film is his film. And that is something we get to see in dramatic fashion soon enough.
I think there's a I'm going to steal a quote from Chris actually when it comes to his clothes. I think choices were made is
Choices were made. We all make choices. It's all right. I stole that from Drag Race, so you're right.
Rick
Supply and demand.
Rick tells them to guard the tomb for the night and drives away in his Jeep. That evening, 3 local grave robbers arrive riding on camels and are greeted by the old woman, who tells them to close the tomb to prevent its curse. They ask her and enter the tomb, but get infected by its poisonous gases. One of them dies whilst the other 2 escapes. And honestly, that is the opening scene. That entire hour-long worth of footage, or so it feels, was the opening scene.
So much of this feels like filler.
Yeah.
It really does. Like, all of this could have happened in the space of like 2 or 3 minutes. We really didn't need them to be like, well, I'm going to come back tomorrow and let this place air out. It's fine. It's fine. You don't have to let it air out. Give me my life back. I want the last 2 minutes of my life back. You've wasted it. You don't need to let that tomb air out. It's fine. You're already suspended enough belief as it is. Fucking hell.
It's what I liked it is when the people went in to sort of like, you know, obviously rob the place, is that guy goes, it smells like gold. And it's just like, it burns. The guy just, well, that's not scientifically accurate. Your face is melted off, sir.
I also like with the priestess, the old woman, in the grand tradition of characters in films that are giving a true fact, but quite a far-fetched one. When she gives her warning, she does it so sort of maniacally that no one believes her. If she was a little calmer and if she sort of explained things a little better, then maybe people would sit down and look, oh, she's got a good point, actually. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't go in.
She's like, perhaps I shouldn't look like a stereotypical witch when I go and myself and cackle. People might be able to take me a little more seriously.
If she'd had her roots done, she'd sort of
got a better wig.
Had a better wig.
Got those teeth sorted.
Yeah. Maybe people would believe her a little more. It's obviously Ralph from Friday the 13th. If your delivery was a little better, people would believe you. Just calm it down and give people the facts.
They say she just showed up like, you boys, we're you're gonna be cursed if you carry on.
Like, hi guys, I'm 1,000 years old. I've been waiting all this time.
I've got a valid point. I'm just explaining it badly. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's true.
But what I don't understand is, if this is the priestess, I'm assuming it's the princess and not just some other, random woman. She's like, oh no, don't go in there. But she's all about kind of bringing this Safframan, Safirama. I think I can't work out the name. It changes so often.
Yeah, no, it's I think he's probably the only character where I've got his name consistently. I think it's Sepharama.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think she also needs a diet of blood and semen like the Countess in Barbies?
Definitely. Do you know what? It's that's what this movie needs. Just like a bukkake on this woman. That would just make it. Do you know what? That would be more entertaining. We're crossing into that porno territory now.
Exactly.
To be fair, at no point is it actually explained that it is the same character. It's the same actress. I'm assuming they're cutting costs by having her played by the same actress. But at any point, is it actually explicitly said that she is in fact the same character?
It's not, but I actually found that out from Wikipedia. But
Yeah.
I suppose it makes sense because, like, later on, it sort of insinuates that it is her. I feel a little bit later, but not at this point. And she kind of changes her tune. She's like, "Don't go in there, don't go in there," and she's like, "Oh, I'm so glad to see you."
Yeah, let's get. We'll talk about that. I've got a problem with that. Yeah, we'll talk
Okay.
about that when we get.
We're given the opening credits with a photo shoot in New York, accompanied by a rip-off of Fame by David Bowie. And it's not a subtle rip-off either.
Oh, I thought you meant Fame. Gary asked me a question whilst we were watching. Was this after Fame? I thought you meant Fame.
Did you think it sounded like that?
No. Well, I thought the New York scene, because I thought it was giving the opening of The Devil Wears Prada. That suddenly I see when all the models are eating almonds and they're going about town looking fashionable. And
This
looking
is
like
clearly
they've
the
got somewhere to
inspiration
be.
for that.
Absolutely. And I'll die on that hill. This is definitely inspiration for The Devil Wears Prada scene. But when Gary asked me about Fame, I thought you meant like Irene Cara. I thought you meant like the film.
Yeah, I think Gary messaged me, go, yeah, we've started watching it, and you know, it's like from Fame, and I was like, Fame, I'm a new fool. I was just like, I was trying to put the two together. It's like, maybe I did something. I don't.
It's like, they're not dancing on taxis. I don't get it.
the other Fame.
Yes.
But yeah, it definitely sounds like they wanted that song, but they just couldn't get the rights. So they're like, okay, we'll do an instrumental version and just change a few chords around here and there, and no one will notice.
That's what I do with my dog.
Do you know what that scene could have done with?
What?
Them dancing in Studio 54.
Yeah.
I would love that. That would have been good.
A photographer and a group of American models travel to Egypt for a fashion shoot. Their manager calls Egypt and has a conversation so fucking loud to the point you can hear it in the sky whilst the plane's flying. Hello, Egypt! We're sending our best models your way now.
No, I want a plane.
The stock footage of the plane, amazing.
Did you notice? Did you check out when they went to show that they're in New York? They're doing obviously the classic, lots of fashionable people walking around. Did anyone clock that woman with a massive white cowboy hat? It was like,
no.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, I know big cowboy hats, you know, it's the late 70s, early 80s and things, but it was fucking huge. And I was obsessed with it for a bit. I just went back and thought, is it really that big? Wind back. I was like, yeah, it's really that big.
I hope she got a decent payday for carrying the weight of that hat.
She's like, oh, you know what? I'm an extra, but I'm going to make these few seconds count.
The higher the cowboy hat, the closer to God. That's what I'm saying.
The models, so they're on the plane and so on. Then when they get there, Melinda is clipping her toenails and gets told off by Jenny.
She's painting her toenails.
Oh, is she? I was just clipping them.
I'm going to throw up if she was clipping
That ruins my little funny thing for the rating at the end.
Oh, bless her. She was painting them.
Well, you're going to have to pretend she was clipping them now.
Okay.
To make my joke work.
You can clip this in your edit.
Well, you can. I like, the thing is the fact that she's painting her toenails in a Jeep in a desert. That's a hell of a thing to do. I can't even imagine being able to be that, you know, that precise.
Hard being a woman. There's expectations. I've seen a woman driving down the street brushing her hair before. Like literally, she had probably about 40 inches of hair, and she's.
Was that the day you witnessed a car crash?
Going for it wasn't. No.
40 inches of hair. Was she about to climb out of someone's TV?
Yeah, she was. She had really long hair, and she was brushing it, and that car was going forward. You dumb bitch.
Jesus, I can walk and talk at the same time.
Well, Melinda is painting her toenails. She gets told off by Jenny for not paying attention to the pyramids. Melinda says, I can't stand it when my toenails are chipped. And Jenny says, oh, for heaven's sake, Melinda, you're missing the Great Pyramids of Cheops. It's a once in a lifetime, and you're worried about your stupid toenails. Whoa, hang on a minute. Why are the toenails stupid?
Yeah.
What I'm confused is why are you giving them a Downton Abbey accent? Just because they're not. Oh, I can't stand it when my toenails are chipped.
I only do super British or Mae West.
You do Mae West or Princess Diana. There were 3 of us in this.
Jenny points out that no one is looking at her feet right now, but Melinda tells her you never know.
Well, the
Going,
joke, because in 2023, I'm looking directly at her feet. Well,
the score is now way ahead of its time and starts to sound like it's going for Jurassic Park.
I missed that. Oh my God.
John Williams' biggest inspiration, apparently.
He's giving John Williams the house down boots.
On the way to the tomb, one of their tires gets punctured, and the group has to stop to replace it. And one of the models, Lisa, asks director Gary to look at the other side of a dune. Now, let me tell you now, Gary representation in this film isn't great. We're not all like this.
Well, what happens is Queen June, she, despite being a beautiful model, was the first to fix the tire.
Yeah.
Can I do that? Was amazing. I love that. She goes out, she does the stereotypical movie trope of kicking a tire, because you have to, and then out of nowhere, she's like a Formula One pit stop worker, and she practically, she's undoing the wheel, berates Gary, who, to be fair, no offense to you as a Gary.
No, he deserved it.
Relatable content.
Yeah. And he's just sitting there having a cigarette, but no, June's all over it, fucking changing that wheel like it's nothing.
Good on her.
Absolute queen.
Absolutely good on her. And she berates him. Gary sat on his ass over there.
Yeah.
Fuck Gary.
Like I said, we're not all like Gary in this film.
Oh, no. The poor representation for Gary's.
Like, in this next scene, I wouldn't have sat there laughing at what was happening, maybe a little bit, but not for as long as he did. Like, they race to the bottom of the other side, and Lisa falls over, and he's just there constantly laughing at her falling down the hill.
Do you know why? Because it takes her 10 minutes to get to the fucking bottom. It's that dun 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 dun, dun when they're flying through space. Could someone do that for me, please?
This is what sold it to me. This scene in the trailer when you sent it, Xander, I was like, oh my God, okay, a model falling down a hill. This is definitely.
Well, it looked like Gary had kind of, I don't know, like rug
pushed her over.
And that's what was so hard. He was like, he'd had a cigarette. The juniors wasn't even that high. He was massively out of breath, so he's completely out of shape. And then just race to the bottom. I know what I'll do. I'll rugby tackle your legs so you fall for fucking miles down the sound dune, and laughing at her. Cool, she breaks her legs. Are you near a hospital? No, your fucking car's broken down.
But she doesn't break anything. Instead, she discovers one of the grave robber's severed heads lying on the sand.
I love that head, because the first shot totally just looks like they've just buried someone from the neck down.
It does.
I love that, yes.
And Lisa's absolutely going for it. Again, another actor in this film who thought an Oscar was coming her way. She was just screaming and screaming and screaming, and she really thought this is a moment.
I like Lisa though, because she does get over it quite quickly.
Yeah.
She gets a lot.
She gets very hysterical,
Mm-hmm.
but she's like, I'm going to give this 5 minutes of my time, and then I'm going to get over it, because it's not going to help anyone. So she's absolutely hysterical for 5 minutes, and then never mentions the severed head again.
No.
And she does it later as well.
She does. She's the queen of getting over things. It's like she sort of gets all this gets it all out. She's like, I'm done now.
Yeah. She doesn't let it linger. She literally just, and maybe it's a little much at times, but if it sort of helps her to deal with the issue, then yeah, go for it. You faint, girl, and then get over it 5 minutes later. Save everyone time. We've only got a certain amount of minutes on this planet, Her time management skills are so good.
Yeah.
So good.
5 minutes of screaming, I can pencil that one in.
Yeah.
Not a second later.
The rest of the group takes them back to their location, and Rick he's decided he wants to be a scene stealer, and he's rocking that camp necktie and vest combination. And him and his group return to the tomb and explore his burial chamber. Though Rick's henchmen are disappointed that there's no gold. Well, you can't always get what you want, can you?
It was. Did you notice the on the tomb? They actually had it in the initial scene. They've got the Egyptian drawings, but for some reason, and I don't know if this is just me or if this speaks volumes for me. I don't know. I'm not going down that route, but. It looks like the massive drawings, they've all got like the Egyptian figures, but they've all got like kind of 15-inch shovel-like penises coming out of like. I'm just like, why? And I was thinking, it's already shown up twice, and I was thinking about this probably way too much. But I was like, why have they got shovel penises? Were they flat? Was that just a thing that happened in Egypt at that time? I don't know.
I mean, that's the real treasure that you want to discover in Egypt.
Everyone's like, yeah, but I'm going to draw myself with a massive shovel-like cock, though.
I do feel like a lot of these ancient cultures and sort of religious artifacts and the Bible as well, a lot of these sort of historical things are much racier than we're ever let on. They're much more violent and sexual than obviously school taught us. And then so if all you know about sort of, and for me, all I really know about Egyptian culture is the books I read when I was younger, horrible histories, and at school. Yeah. I mean, no one was talking to me about large shovel-like penises on the hieroglyphics,
This needs to be a conversation which is had at every school, realistically.
I believe so.
They spent an unrealistic amount of time in primary school teaching us about ancient Egypt, and I can't remember this being mentioned at all.
No,
failed our education.
Yeah,
failed us.
It's why it's so important to do your own research outside of school, because the real juicy bits are outside. And I genuinely mean that. Like, seriously.
And that, everyone, was a lesson on Egyptian cocks. Now, moving on to Ahmed Saiki, a local businessman who arrives to check on his investments. And after Rick's assurance, he leaves.
Yeah. He pops out of a wall as well. I love that. It's like, hi, I'm investing this.
The next morning, Rick attempts to chisel a passage into the chamber, but Tarek and Karib detonate its entrance with more dynamite because, I mean, why chisel when there's dynamite?
The choice of archaeologists all around the world. Ancient fragile artifacts, I've got just the tool.
Even though they were disappointed again by the chamber's lack of gold, they did find some drawings of big cocks in there, so they were happy with that.
Again.
They open Sepharama's
Safframan, let's just call him that. That's what they seem to call him for some of the
sarcophagus.
Sarcophagus.
What Gary's struggling on at the moment.
Two big words for Sunday morning. In the afternoon. Any time of the day.
Don't give away, this is live. As you listen, we are live in your ears.
Totally.
To look for more treasures. A mouse jumps onto Karib's back and frightens him, but let's be honest, a mouse is thrown onto Karib's back.
Yeah.
Oh my, you see it come out of shot as well.
Yeah. I don't think a mouse has ever jumped that high, ever.
It's the Michael Jordan of the rodent family.
And then he starts shouting about the curse. So he knew about this curse. Yeah. And he knew he should have minded his own business. They all should. They all did, actually.
The curse.
The grand tradition of horror film. No one knows when to mind their own business. Can I just say something?
Yeah.
How fucking boring was the last how many minutes of this film that we've just discussed? I literally have in my notes, I don't care about these men. Where are the modelling montages? Thank you. I could not give two shits about this crap.
I'm not gonna lie, I actually have like a large chunk of this actually missing from my notes because I'm clearly on the same thought process of like, I don't care about these guys.
It's like, I don't care. I've seen the trailer. I know you're going to get the gold. The gold's going to appear at somehow. And you're going to awaken this mummy. We all know it's going to happen. Get to the fucking point.
Where
I
are
don't
you?
care about this mouse.
Well, lucky for you, after settling near a riverbank village for the night, the American models group moves on the next morning to shoot photos near the tomb to the sound of a song about Mr. Boogeyman putting on his dancing shoes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
I couldn't find the song anywhere, and I'm very disappointed.
Don't stop Mr. Boogeyman.
Gary is an absolute slave to that. Not you personally. Gary, he's an absolute slave to the rhythm. And I just love how that when they're doing a photo shoot, which for some reason he's in like a pristine white suit in the middle of a desert. Own it, dude. But it's like he's just rocking it. He's trying to take photos. And he's just dancing away. And you can see the photographer just gradually getting more and more pissed off. Like, dude, this is like 1981. The cameras aren't that good. Just fucking stay still.
What do we think to the photo shoots? I personally loved how camp and tacky they were. I mean, the best kind of photo shoots. I loved that they were trying to go for some sort of James Bond thing with his tux.
That makes no sense.
And they were dressed like Bond girls.
Yeah, sorry, sorry, Xander.
No. It's no. What made me laugh is some of the shoots they did. Like they kind of felt like they were all dressed to be in Vegas because they've got that sort of like Egyptian casino kind of feel. But they're like, no, we're gonna go for the real thing. That's kind of how it felt for me.
It's given the Trafford Centre. A little northern joke for you there.
Have you ever been to the Trafford Centre, Xander?
No, I've
They
not.
they have Egypt in the Trafford Centre.
What, the whole of Egypt?
The whole of Egypt.
Into the Trafford Centre. That's amazing.
Yeah. They also have New Orleans. They have Chinatown. They have Hawaii. Place of culture.
So it begs the question: why didn't they just go to the Trafford Centre instead of like Cairo?
I don't understand the logic behind the choices for the photo shoots because what they're wearing is in no way inspired by ancient Egyptian culture. And part of me is glad from a cultural appropriation viewpoint, but in terms of logic and I think I have a slight keen eye for fashion, I do read Vogue from time to time. It kind of makes no sense because it does look like a tacky James Bond theme.
Yeah, that's what I got from that.
He's in a full tuxedo, white tuxedo. He must be sweating.
Oh God! In the middle of
profusely. But the women are wearing quite loose, flowy dresses, like not like a full formal gown. The like dresses you would wear in summer as when you go into the Trafford Centre.
Again, this could have all there would have been no mummies, there would have been no members of the undead if they'd just gone to the Trafford Centre.
Trafford Centre, definitely.
Story.
I love the way the scene ends when one of the models is like, from now on, it's going to be plain sailing all the way. And Carib shoots his gun at them straight after, thinking they're intruders. But Rick and Tariq stop him.
I know, why would you possibly choose violence? Hang on a second, there are people there look like a Bond film. They're probably evil. Let me just take a few shots at them. Why?
Because he thought it was James Bond and the Bond girls.
Yeah.
Oh no, they've come to get us.
The villains are always cool. Pow, pow,
pow. James Bond hates anyone who isn't British. Fuck, we are fucked.
Wait, James Bond.
Yeah.
One of the films was New Orleans, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And was there any in Egypt?
I don't think
Is
so.
the Trafford Centre based on
Oh
James
yeah, the
Bond
Living Daylights. I
films?
think. Yeah.
Are you trying to score some free passes to the Trafford Centre? Be honest. Because I want in.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we might get some free tokens at the arcade if we keep plugging it like this.
Well, yeah.
I'll use it for the preview clip on social media.
I feel like I
Tag them in
need to explain, just, and we'll stop with the Trafford Centre reference. But I need to
Yeah, but-
explain to maybe an American or non-British listeners. The Trafford Centre is like a shopping mall in the north of the UK, and it has different sections based on different parts of the world. But it's very tacky, incredibly tacky. It was in the 90s?
1998 it was.
1998. And
It's a bit like
it
Butlins.
hasn't changed much. So do not bring up Butlins because I haven't got time to talk about Butlins. Just the Trafford Centre. But it's very tacky and it hasn't really been updated since, which makes
No.
it high camp and we love going there. But yeah, it's a weird experience, to say the least.
Shout out to the Trafford Centre.
I know.
Yeah, so now that that's out of the way, the models group proceeds to the tomb against Rick and his henchmen's objections.
I
And,
loved it. I
Yeah.
loved it because they've literally just been shot at by a member of that team seconds ago. Guy clearly hates disco, takes a few shots at them, and then they're like, you know what, guys, we're all friends now. It's cool. Let's go in this ancient tomb that could easily be lock us in with a guy who has a gun. Sure, let's go in here. Good one. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of them's like, "Oh my god, gee, guys, look, it's so terrific!" And it's like, I mean, it's an ancient tomb. It's actually a little scary. I wouldn't go in there.
Highly inappropriate and disrespectful for them to go in there and do a photo shoot.
They put their bags and photo equipment on the mummy. Did anyone know? Like this ancient mummy. Oh, just fuck it. Just throw your bags here. Some guys worry about it first, but no. Throw your bags on all this like photo and lighting equipment. Just fucking throw it on that dead dude. It's all cool.
And also, as confusing as it was outside with the beautiful scenery of the pyramids and the sand in the background, as confusing as that was in terms of the clothes they were wearing, even more so when they're inside the tomb. Like, how is this in any way appropriate or make any sense that you're inside a tomb doing this? Like, if it was an Indiana Jones shoot, I'd get it, but it's not. It's a white tuxedo and some flimsy summer dresses.
Also, surely if you're getting some photos of like a newly found mummy, surely that would probably go for a better price than just like photos for a Grattan catalogue. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true, actually. You've just discovered a pharaoh who's been hidden for thousands of years. And instead of taking the photo, like, do you know what will really get somebody? Let's have some women posing with spaghetti strap dresses right in front of it.
This formal company is paying us good money to get these shots.
Yeah, I mean, this also brings about the way that the mummy's brought back to life. Now, I know what you're thinking. In mummy films, usually someone reads a curse out of a book and they come back from the dead. It's as simple as that. No, in this film, he's slayed so hard by their poses and their dresses and that white tuxedo to the point it brings him back to life. It's partially the truth, but also the flashes on the cameras bring him back to life.
Oh, that's what I just thought it was just bad timing.
No, it is literally the flashes on the camera.
It's the spotlights, isn't it? So they have to use spot because obviously there's no natural light inside. So they use the spotlights. And that's what starts to bring him to life.
Yeah.
But because this film's desperate to make the hour-and-a-half mark, we get them start to, and then they piss off, and then they come back, and then they piss off, and then they come back again. So before he's actually awakened by these spotlights, they've done how many fucking photo shoots in there? It's hard to keep track.
I know. I'm so glad you said that because I couldn't. It's like sometimes they would show up for a photo shoot, for some bizarre reason, someone's face is like covered with mud. I don't know if it's a face mask, but they just decided to pop on in the middle of a photo shoot in a tomb.
Yeah, what was that?
I have no idea what it's like. Is this part of the show? Are they kind of going a bit artistic with this one? I couldn't follow. And one day they were like, "Oh, we've got like one more day to shoot." Next day, it's like, "Oh, we've got 48 hours to get these photo shoots in." I'm like, "Wait, you seem to have lost time."
I feel like what they were good because when they started painting their faces, I got really nervous.
Yeah, so did I.
Because I was like, okay, this is going to be really offensive. But it wasn't. It was almost as if they were doing a face mask.
Yeah.
And they were wearing nighties, like they were going to bed.
Yeah.
To say like,
I'm just gonna go sleep in my tomb.
Yeah, like a girls' night in, watching Dirty Dancing with face masks.
Pyramid Summer
Party.
Party.
90s. But with a corpse right in front of the...
The best kind of slumber party.
Selfie with a 6,000-year-old mummy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what mine and Xander's film like used to be like.
Do you know what? I 100% would watch that. That would make a great film.
Hashtag girls' night in.
Yeah, exactly.
Rick snaps off the cable on one of the spotlights, and Jenny is asked to go and find a battery for the spotlights. But instead, she spills a bowl containing one of the pharaoh's organs, infecting her hand and scaring her. I mean, I hate when that happens.
That's what that was. I had no idea. First of all, Rick's like cutting through with a knife, a wire that has enough electricity to, keep all these professional lights up, which is, I'm not sure about you, but that's a shit idea. You gotta go. But I had no idea what it was. Like, also, how the skeletons of those people who died from like being gassed, they're nowhere to be seen in this tomb anymore. But apparently the organs have lasted 6,000 years perfectly intact. I also don't understand why the mummy was sort of leaking sulfuric acid. Like, no one noticed this like burning smell.
And I also don't understand why Jenny's hand becomes infected with something, and it's just like, yeah, okay, just put a bandage on it,
yeah.
and she can't put makeup on anymore because she's right-handed, and that's it. Her hand doesn't go wild. Her hand doesn't.
I was expecting this to turn into one of his soldiers, like one of his mummy soldiers.
Yeah, like.
But,
even dead too. Like,
yeah.
I want the hand to go completely crazy and start killing. I want Jenny to start killing people with this infected hand, but it's just like she's burnt. It's like, okay.
I like the fact that after this all happens and they get the hand done, like she goes to bed, she's like, ah, and she calms down and she wakes up. She's like, oh, my hand. And I don't know if is it June? I don't know who comes up. But someone's like, shh, calm down. It's like, your hand, my hand's mutilated. Like, you're making too much. Oh.
Yeah, that is June. It's June. June will tell you to keep a calm head.
Yeah. Calm down. Your hand's melting off. It's not a big deal. Jesus.
Yeah, so once this is all sorted, the Hotlights again accidentally revive Sepharman's mummy and his followers, a band of flesh-eating zombies. Tariq is left to return to his home in a city, whilst Jenny's hand infection persists and burns her, but not too much.
But yeah, just making up time now, isn't it?
Yes.
Kerry,
it's a bit like when we go on tangents about the Trafford Centre. It's just to make up time on the podcast.
Kerry enters the tomb alone by himself, cuts open Pharaoh Sepharama's mummy, and steals his crook and flail.
That's what it was. I didn't know what the hell that was. I've got written down a couple of stripy gold candy canes or really small walking sticks for tiny people, and a golden insole for sneakers are found in the chest of a mummy. Which makes
That's also accurate.
Which makes me wonder is when they were cutting his heart out, at what point were they sticking these like tiny walking sticks? I forget what they're called. In the chest, and why?
Yeah. I mean, Chris, do you?
Well, he's holding on to them, isn't he?
Yeah, but inside him.
Are they inside him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Decomposition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if
Okay.
it's decomposed a bit, it's gonna sort of sink in, isn't it?
I just thought because the bandages were kind of wrapped around him, I thought they just like took the heart out and just shoved these walking stick insole things right in the chest cavity. I was like, okay, that's fair.
Could be.
Yeah, this film is 100% historically accurate. A door to another chamber opens. Karib enters, but is incapacitated by the door and dragged away. We don't see what by.
No.
The following day, Rick and Tariq enter the tomb as they search for Karib and are thrilled to find Sepharama's crook, flail, and other treasures. So he just, left them behind.
Rick gets really excited. Like
He does.
He almost seems kind of out of character from how he's been up until this point. But suddenly he's like, oh, like kind of like that. I mean, that was a terrible impression. I don't even know.
No, that's very accurate impression actually. This is when he wakes up. This is when he really decides to be a scene stealer, and it gets even more over the top later on as well.
Yeah.
The models and their team return for another photo shoot, but their continued usage of light keeps awakening the pharaoh.
How many fucking times?
Stop!
Could be burnt and dusted in 2 minutes.
Just literally shining light. Oh, stop shining light in my eyes. I'm trying to sleep here. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Do some natural lighting. It's fine.
Why, in terms of a film and my attention span, are we getting this shit? 3rd time they're doing this fucking photo shoot to wake up this fucking pharaoh.
I mean, the funny thing is that this tomb, in comparison to a lot of places in the rest of the film, is actually one of the brightest location places as well. Like, they actually don't need the flash.
No, it's the spotlights.
Yeah, but even that, there's fine.
No, they needed the spotlight. The spotlights are always on.
And they've always got torches which are forever lit.
Yeah. I like how Jenny pisses off in the background and everyone leaves, and then the pharaoh decides to sit up like the Undertaker.
That was one of those fever dream moments because it goes between night and then morning, and then they're kind of messing about with lights, and someone's got mud on their face, and then everything stops for absolutely no reason, like they just got bored. Which I can totally relate to with this film. And and then the mummy's like, hello?
At a campfire at night, the group of models sing along to a shit song about the colour in someone's eyes matching a rainbow.
That's weird, isn't it?
The team finds the bodies of the 2 grave robbers whose heads were crushed. And Rick arrives just as Lisa faints and catches her in his arm. He picks her up and tells the team they should leave.
I honestly thought it was a horse and some guy. I didn't even know who the hell they were. I just thought it was like a random dead horse. It was so dark, you cannot see a damn thing.
Yeah, this is when it's really, really dark now, and it is ridiculous. Suspend disbelief.
The faceless guy, though, the makeup on that wasn't actually that bad. I'll give them that, because when he's like that and he shows up and his face is all kind of melty, I thought it looked all right, for the time.
Yeah, I like the practical effects in this film. They've got that sort of charm to them, that early 80s charm, and some of the death scenes are really good. It's just not a lot of them.
Yeah.
I love how Lisa faints. She's caught in Rick's arms, carried to her bed, and then literally a few minutes later, she's like, "No, I'm fine, guys. I'm fine. I'll be fine. Thank you. I'm all right.
It was. Did you hear their excuse as to what had done that to the 2 people?
No.
It was a wild beast has done it. What?
Oh,
In the middle of the
no.
desert, which is renowned for its like large carnivorous wild beasts. No one's noticed him like just wandering around. No, let's all go back to our campsite. I'm sure it's fine.
Believable. the photographer, Bill, says he needs one more day to shoot and then they'll leave. So I don't care if we found faceless people. We are finishing this James Bond photo shoot. And in a bizarre series of events, Rick wakes up Lisa by putting his hand on her throat. And then they start making out.
I know. It's like, I know. Look, I know you. Like, she's literally fainted. She's really freaked out. It's like, let me comfort you by strangling you while you slip. No, don't do that.
But she wakes up and they kiss, and she seems to be into it in a way, and sort of be like, oh, okay, where's this romance come from?
It's that necktie.
But then later on, and I'm going to bring it up now, Lisa and Bill are the ones who are having sex in bed.
Good for her.
So what happened to Lisa and Rick?
I don't know. Maybe it was just it was dark.
Thought for choice, and she
Well, I mean,
I love a bit of everything.
I'm not here to shame anyone. If Lisa wants to, have sex with anyone that she decides she wants to have sex with.
Yeah,
but in terms of me watching a film and trying to make this film make sense in my head as I'm watching it, I'm fucking confused.
Yeah, I'm confused. And also, at what point do you think, oh, Rick, your Lego hair is just so polyester looking? Ugh.
I mean, when you're in the middle of the desert and, some of your other choices are Gary, then
oh god,
you're gonna take Fred from Scooby Doo, aren't you?
I suppose it's something to put on your CV. Have fucked Fred from Scooby Doo.
Meanwhile, the High Priestess goes into the tomb and finds the mummy gone. The mummy appears and kills her.
What exactly did she think was going to happen? And why was she so happy when she spent so long telling people not to awaken him?
Yeah.
Oh my god, you're awake! I'm your biggest fan. Oh my god, I'm so happy. And then she gets strangled. What did you think was exactly what you warned people was going to happen?
Why would you go in there? Don't go in there! Don't go in there! Only I can go in there, apparently.
Yeah. But at what point also was she going to mention that you can go in there as long as you don't use hot lights? Don't use hot lights.
Don't do a photo shoot in there, you'll be all right.
Because the mummy couldn't give two shits until the spotlights were on.
To be honest, I don't feel like the mummy really gives much of a crap. You just see him just walking around half the time, and I'm really wondering, is he really that bad? He's not.
Yeah.
He's not doing an awful lot. It's the kind of his hordes of undead that kind of seem to be doing the worst of it. He's just sort of just chilling, walking around, strangling that old woman. I suppose, yeah.
Well, I mean, everyone's just winding him up. Like they're driving him to this. He wasn't a killer until he met all these people.
He wanted all these friends. It was her keeping them all away. He's fuming at her. He said, I've heard what you've been saying about me. Keep my name out your mouth.
Well, at dawn, Sephiroth's army rises out of the sand. Nice bit of cinematography here. This is one of the nicest shots in the film.
Yeah.
Where you can actually see what's going
dangerously
on.
close to a beautiful shot with that sun
I know,
in
yeah.
the horizon and this silhouette of the zombie appearing from the sand. I was like, what film did they steal this from? Who sued them for this?
The next day, Bill is still taking pictures of the site and says they need 48 more hours to shoot. Why? What more can you do with this photo shoot? What more can you do? You've done everything.
I just kind of want to know who's paying for this. Because the thing is, like, obviously the clothes they're wearing, the backdrop that they're doing, they've got a fair bit of money. They've shipped them all out to Egypt. But, like, who? Is it? I get the feeling that it was like a clothing catalogue.
No.
Well, have you seen The Devil Wears Prada, Xander?
Not for a very long time.
It reminds me of the scene where they cut the Sedona shoot and it costs them $100,000. It's kind of giving that,
Yeah.
It's the wackiest thing, and they just cut it like no.
Yeah, imagine they get home. They all survive
like
and get home with all these photos and like, Nah, we ain't fucking using this. What are you
It's
doing?
like-
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people died. There were mummies. There were zombies. I'm just saying there were, I was strangled in my sleep. No, I'm sorry. All these
90s.
crap.
90s in the desert. I don't think we're gonna go florals for spring.
One of the models gets lost in the tomb, and Gary and Ahmed go to town
Why
for
there's
a
only
rest.
2 rooms?
Well, they go to town for a rest, Gary and Ahmed,
They do.
and another local named Omar gives Jenny and Gary a smoke. Jenny sees the mummy, gets hysterical, and runs to Gary, but the mummy is gone when he looks.
Oh, don't get it.
Hey, is this
You're
when they're
just
like-
wasting my time.
Is this when they're like, oh, nothing strange is going on here? Like, how are you still saying that at this point?
I didn't understand who Hamid was. I didn't. He just sort of rocks up, and he's got the suit on. He's got no shirt underneath it. He's got a gold medallion. He's fighting for his last few days of disco, and they're like, oh yeah, do you know where I can get a smoke? And they go off into town, don't they? And it's like a shisha bar or something.
Yeah. Yeah, where did they get this contact from? Like,
Oh no, I don't know what he has to do with anything to do with the film. Like I thought, oh maybe it's that guy who's invested in this sort of like getting this treasure. No, I don't think you ever see him ever again.
no, I
Yeah.
think that's it. I think that's the only scene.
It's definitely one of those films where I wish people would use each other's names more.
Yeah.
Because I've been solely reliant, apart from June, I've been solely reliant on the internet to tell me people's names
Yeah.
and their relationships to each other. And that is a mark of a bad film, because in 1982 you can't do that. Imagine coming out the cinema, having watched Dawn of the Mummy, and being like, what the fuck was that about? Who was trying to have a conversation about it and not knowing anyone's name at all?
That was my problem as well. I'm certain the guy who took shots at the models as well, they called him Gary. I don't know if it was by mistake. So I had Gary 1 and Gary 2 written in my longest notes, and I was just like, oh, this is really confusing. There's way too many Garys, and I found out no, I was absolutely wrong.
There's way too many Garys. What do you think of
Yeah,
that?
well, I mean, you're not wrong.
It's pre-1992 though, isn't it?
People were called Gary back then.
Did you kill them all off like the Highlander? Can there be only one?
I am the final Gary.
Well, apparently there is no Garys.
No,
after
I think someone's
1992.
actually named someone Gary recently. Yes, I think that's cancelled now.
I know a lot of dogs
We're
are
back to
called
Gary
Gary. I see
being a
online a
thing.
lot of dogs are called Gary.
Really?
I think it's a cute name for a dog.
Carrie Fisher's dog was called Gary.
Yeah, I think Gary's a cute name for a dog.
Thanks.
I know. I was quiet then about. You know what? I'm not touching that with a 10-foot barge pole.
Well, the mummy gives Tariq a meat cleaver to the head and kills him.
Very
Oh, yeah, I
Dawn of the
thought that
Dead.
was
Yeah.
It looked all right. It looked all right. It obviously it's taken directly from Dawn of the Dead, but not as fancy.
Well, no, they haven't got Tom
Not everyone
Savini.
can be Tom Savini, can they?
What I don't get is that Tarek was in the initial. He went with Rick, right, with some other dude, and he's basically got a side hustle as a butcher. I didn't quite understand that. He's like, I don't know, sometimes I sell meat, sometimes I go tomb raiding. That really threw me. Like, I was like, what's this dude doing as a butcher? I was like, oh, is that what he normally does?
Well, I'm assuming that the tomb raiding is highly illegal. So I suppose he has to have a legitimate job to pay the bills.
Oh yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah.
I thought being the butcher would be the side hustle.
Yeah, I don't think he's putting Tomb Raider on his tax return.
Yeah, here's my card, Tomb Raider. I've also got some great sausages.
Only white women can do that. With triangle boobs.
Two models, June and Melinda, take a swim at the nearby oasis where whilst Lisa is getting herself some dick from Bill. Making the rounds.
Good on you.
Good for you, girly.
Get it.
And-
Get the dick.
So I think this is the right time to point out that as the film was filmed in Egypt, nudity of any sort was completely off the cards.
Yeah.
Not allowed. So all the violence, yes, but none of the nudity. So we get a not even a sex scene. I mean, it's two people in bed having a kiss, really. And then I'm assuming if this was an American production, we'd have a nice little skinny dip in the oasis.
But that's what it was going to be.
Yeah, and I think again, it's shot so darkly and so poorly that at times I did think, I was like, oh no, she's not wearing anything, and it's like, oh no, it's just really bad lighting.
No, what she's wearing is a Bond style bikini.
Yeah.
And the way she sort of comes out the water. So, but what she changes into an orange boiler suit.
Yeah, it looks like she's about to go to prison. Like, what is that all about?
It was really weird because the other girl just gets out, she just sort of puts a towel around her. But no, this woman who's called Melinda, which I had to Wikipedia. No, she's brought along with her an orange boiler suit. She's like, what can I say? I was really into Slipknot in the early 2000s.
Any true supermodel can slay in an orange boiler suit.
Yeah,
That's the true test.
Yeah.
Well, she takes a walk and she runs into the mummy and one of his soldiers, where they kill her by biting and tearing out her throat.
Yeah,
This is very Lucio Fulci.
It's always about the throats in this. There's a lot of like the woman who gets strangled in her sleep, the Xena gets strangled. There's a lot of stuff with throats going on in this film. I've noticed that was sort of like a reoccurring theme, I thought.
Yeah, someone on the crew definitely had a throat fetish.
Yeah.
What Freud would make of it. I didn't Google that.
I'm not here to shame.
No, you carry on tearing out your throats. The next day, Rick finds Tariq dead, and this is when he gives the best reaction possible. It's like, like he sounds like he's trying to throw up. Then he's just yelling. He drives straight to the tomb and calls for the god of the sun.
Is it Sammy Hammer?
Yeah.
What I love is I've wrote Fred. It's not Fred. It's Rick. I just keep changing their names. But I love the fact when he sees him, he's like, ah, and then runs, carry on screaming, ah, gets in his car, ah, drives off, ah. He's consistently, he's doing that thing where he's condensing all his like fear into 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he completely changes character. And just goes nuts. And like, if you find your dead friend in a butcher's, where are you going to go? I know, back to a tomb.
It kind of feels like he didn't realize how much screen time he had left. And then they were like, okay, so we're leading up to your death now. So, oh, fuck, really? Okay, I've got to make the most of this whilst I can. I've got to... And then, just completely went for it. He's like, this is going to be my Oscar scene. I'm going to show it at the ceremony.
It's what we call kids.
A wall slides back and he finds the treasure. He screams in delight and the mummy returns and kills him.
Oh, but have you seen what the treasure looks like? It looks like sort of like cheap plastic pottery with Wilkinson quality spray paint all over it. I was just like, oh, that's amazing.
He screams in delight. I think he's a little turned on by it all.
I think he is.
Honest. It's a little inappropriate at times.
He has completely lost the point in this because he's got a hat, and then he's like kind of I don't understand why he's calling out for this Sammy Hammer. Like I couldn't make the connection at all with that. And then as you do, he's like, ah, I found all this treasure, and it's literally just like a plant pot that's been spray painted cheap gold.
I don't think it's explained very well.
No, of course
but
not.
it does seem to be I'm assuming that a statue is dedicated to the god, and it's the god of the sun. And I feel like it's the sun rises in the east, so he goes to the east of the tomb, and that's where he's able to open up.
Oh,
I may have just made that up on the spot, but it sounds legit, doesn't it?
Take it at this point with this any theories I'm taking as gospel.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it sounds right.
Yeah.
Pulled it out my ass, but it sounds right.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Bill and Gary go to town to see Omar, where he's celebrating his wedding. Gary gives Omar his Western cowboy hat, and Omar gives Gary his golden head covering.
Is that normal?
Talk about an uneven swap.
I don't understand why he's dressed like a cowboy either, because it just seems really kind of off. Yeah, it doesn't really feel like his kind. He hasn't really dressed sort of like in a cowboy kind of way, but now all of a sudden he's got the shirt. I don't know. It just seemed really out of place.
It's very much kind of how Italian horror, and this very much feels like an Italian horror film. The kind of Italian horror way of looking at America and American people. They'd wear a cowboy hat, wouldn't they? Yeah, definitely. They'd definitely wear a cowboy hat any given occasion.
Every day. Going to a bris, no problem. Cowboy hat.
But imagine giving someone a gold head covering, beautiful gold head covering, and getting a cowboy hat in return. It's a bit like, oh, really?
Well, the thing is he's clearly like, it's his wedding night, right? So he's getting married that night, is it?
Yeah.
So he's obviously gone, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to wear. I mean, granted, he's working on his wedding night, which is, I'm not going there. But he's got this clothes. He's going, no, screw my hat, have this on my wedding night. I don't know. I wouldn't have been so generous, even if it was disgusting.
No, I agree. Back at the camp, Lisa looks around the tomb. Bill finds the gold in the tomb and calls out, and suddenly Rick's severed head falls from the ceiling and lands in Bill's arms. That was not Rick's face.
Oh my god! How did I miss this? I haven't even got this. I think I was just sort of like blanked out a little bit.
Did you give it? Did you tap out by this point?
I think my brain tapped out completely.
It's such a shame because this is actually where the film starts to get half decent. The ending, I kind of tapped out as well, and then I sort of like, oh, actually no, this is getting all right.
I like, to be honest, I was all about the procession that comes in later, the wedding procession.
Oh yeah.
He flees back to the camp running from the mummy soldiers. Jenny loses one of her contact lenses just before the soldiers arrive at the camp, and she's like, oh darn, my contact, I need this like a hole in the head.
Yeah. She starts feeling around in the sand. What are you going to do? Find this sandy contact? I'll just put that back in my eye.
So she's Velma.
She's Velma, yeah. Bill shoots the mummy with a gun, but to no effect. The mummy strangles Bill and pulls at his insides as the models run and scream.
Can somebody turn on the lights at this point? Like, seriously, turn on the lights. I can't see. Like, it sounds a lot cooler than it appears on screen. Like,
yeah, because I didn't realize that even happened.
Yeah, it's like poor Jenny gets torn apart and eaten by the mummy soldiers, whilst the two remaining models flee in the Jeep. And again, I didn't really see that happening.
I only realised that on the second time, because I've watched this twice now, and I had to watch it the second time because I had no idea. I wondered where Jenny had gone, because people just sort of come in and out of scenes. They just and then they're not.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, the rest of the film after this point's a lot brighter.
Wait, so you watched this film twice? Yeah. I feel like we owe you some money or something.
No, it's okay. The first time I watched it, I was drinking, and I was just like, you know what, I'm going to have to watch this again tomorrow. But yeah, because I was missing most of it by making notes, so I had to watch it a second time.
Back at the wedding celebration in town, there's dancing in the streets, and the mummy's soldiers are seen eating Omar's bride in a tent.
To be honest, the fact that no one's noticed the bride at all, like you've got the whole thing going on, you've clearly got the drunk mother of the bride there, who's just dancing in front of the bride, kind of looks like she's trying to seduce her. I don't know, do your thing. But it was I love that. I love the fact that it doesn't matter what part of the world you go to, there's always a drunk relative who just seems to be embarrassing everyone.
I love the belly dancer. And I love the way that the camera zooms in on her cleavage, because it's like, oh, we're not allowed any nudity, but we're gonna have this zoom in on her cleavage as she's dancing.
She's always in the background as well, because they pan around while the celebration's happening. You've got fire breathing, you've got some dude like dancing around with a huge piece of material, but she's always in the scene. Like, we can't have nudity, but we're going to have these tits in here for as long as humanly possible. I really want to know what she's doing now. I really connected to her as a person.
I liked these scenes as well. I enjoyed seeing the wedding celebrations, and I hope they're sort of true to life as well. I think it sort of identifies maybe my biggest bugbear with the film is that this is a mummy film.
Yeah.
And we've seen loads of them, and we've seen a lot of them from a Western perspective. But this had an Egyptian director and was filmed in Egypt. And I kind of wish we would have seen more of Egypt and Egyptian culture, and seeing this story, which in many ways has been depicted in sometimes a racist way, seeing it from the perspective of the Egyptian culture and from Egypt. I think the Italian production may have, put a halt to that, but it is a bit of a bugbear of mine, because I would have liked to have seen that unique perspective on the mummy story, because essentially they're just zombies.
Yeah,
really.
To be honest, I think the majority of the screen time, it felt like in the kills especially, were the zombies. Apart from a few strangulations, it was. I like the fact that we got to see that sort of celebration, that side of things, to see it taking place in a scene that you wouldn't normally see in a Western like zombie film. I thought that was cool. But I mean, that's kind of one of its only redeeming factors about this film. I'm not gonna lie.
It's fucking dull, isn't it?
Yeah, really. I love the big tambourines. What was the best thing about the film? Everyone had massive tambourines in the celebration. Like 10 times the size of a normal tambourine.
Well, at this point, climatic carnage ensues as everyone runs. The mummy soldiers grab and bite and kill many people in the street. The mummy's just standing around, just admiring the carnage.
I hate in horror films where people run around completely aimlessly during things like this. It's like, choose a direction and run in that direction. Just go.
Yeah.
Because why are you running and then turning, running back and then turning and then running diagonal and then running? Oh, stop. Just pick a direction and go for it. Just get the fuck out of there.
Did you see Gary? And he's still in his cowboy outfit, and he's like Jean-Claude Van Damme Roundhouse kissing zombies. I love that. And the groom's got one of those guns with unlimited rounds and a rifle. He's just like shooting away. Endless reload.
I knew this cowboy hat would come in useful. The two surviving models, Lisa and June, arrive and throw sticks of dynamite at the mummy with very little effect, but it's really cool.
It's high camp,
isn't he?
Yeah. But with a bit of help from Omar, the models go into a shack, spread gasoline, light a fuse in a box of dynamite, and blow up the shed with the mummy in it. Lisa, June, and Omar celebrate when Gary arrives and reunites with them, and they all walk away. But in the final shot, the mummy's hand rises from the rubble. That's Dawn of the Mummy.
I had to watch that twice. I will.
Yeah. Could have done with more models throwing dynamite. I'll give it that.
I kind of what I loved is the fact that the dynamite which you see in there is always in the same box. It's always got that painted red skull on. But I love the fact that because I don't know where they've gone, where they go in to find all this dynamite, but someone's gone, yeah, let's just put that dynamite right next to a bottle of gasoline. I can't see anything bad happening. They get matches probably lying next to all this stuff. And to be honest, the explosion is quite impressive, but I can't tell if it's stock footage or not, whether or not they've just done stock footage of something burning. So it was kind of like, it definitely didn't feel like it was there on the same scene.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was taken from another film from around this time. I wouldn't put it past the filmmakers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna slightly defend this film a little because I was honestly very entertained throughout. I just couldn't get the idea out of my head of the fact that this mummy is being brought back to life by spotlights and camera flashes, and it's just models versus mummies, and that just
I've got to. It's one of those films which I'll give it this. It's a great idea, but it's just been executed badly. But I wouldn't say that I didn't watch this and I wasn't entertained. I actually was entertained with this to the point of where I was laughing just at how bad it was. And that probably wasn't the desired thing, but I had a good time watching it, so I can't fault it for that.
Yeah, I mean it's shit. Like, let's make no mistakes. It's not a good film. But that's that's what we enjoy.
Part of the charm. That's why I chose this. I knew what I was getting myself into. I can't really complain about
it. I think for me, there's a lots of ups and downs. So there's scenes that are entertaining, but then some scenes that are dull as dishwater, like really just boring as hell. And I think if it had been condensed down to about an hour, I think you'd have a pretty decent film there. But there's too much filler for me.
There is, and I never understood that. Why, like those songs? They had like two songs. The first time you hear, I think it's Gary playing guitar.
Yeah,
it's so out of tune that it's just like, oh my god, man, just tune your guitar in. What's wrong with you? And that song that he comes up with afterwards is just painful. It's like, that's 2 minutes I'm never getting back of my life.
My band members say the exact same thing.
I know, I was going to say, did you watch his lockdown live streams too?
I did, and they were very good.
Thank you. Shall we give some awards out?
Yes.
The biggest queen, I've got to give it to Lisa for that performance while she was falling down a hill. Just give it everything.
Although that wasn't necessary, I was still pissed off with Gary. The fact he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll win this race against you. Let me just go rugby tackle your legs from underneath you. Take that, 50-pound woman."
I went with June. I think June was the queen. She can change a tire. She can serve a look. She can throw dynamite. I think Lisa and June are
great. June,
my choices.
Yeah.
And they also rode on horseback when everyone else was in the Jeep. I forgot to mention that. At the beginning, everyone turns up in a Jeep, and they're the two that are on horseback. So they can do everything. The film should have been about them. If the film was about the models, I would have been highly entertained.
I don't think the whole story with Rick was really necessary.
No.
I think if they just stuck with one group, that would have made more sense. But considering, I think everybody that was involved in Rick's group was eventually killed. I think that's right. It's like that whole part of the story was just completely unnecessary.
Yeah, no, I agree. Who's your biggest queen, Xander?
I'm going to say June as well, because I was just so impressed with the fact that she literally jumps out of her Jeep and is just like kicks it. I'm like, oh, she's gonna kick the tire. It's gonna be one of those. Oh, I can't do anything. No. She's got the tools. She's, I don't know, pulled them out of her ass, and she's changing the wheel. She's all over. And as you say, she was all over that. Wasn't it her idea with the dynamite as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gasoline everywhere. She's like zero fucks given. She was all over it.
Yeah.
She was.
Biggest gasp, I give it to the mummy being brought back to life by the camera flashes during a model photo shoot, because I mean, I genuinely gasped, because that, I mean, you just expect a book to be read and it's going to be resurrected that way. I never saw that coming.
There's a reason. It's fucking stupid. My biggest gasp were the 90s.
I'm going to say the biggest gasp. I don't know why. I think I was just hammered when he first shows up. I don't know what it was. It was just about, it was the suit without a shirt. It was the medallion. I could have expected it. It's 1981. But I just think it was, you know, the afro and the whole thing. It seemed really out of place. They're in the middle of a desert, a dig site. This dude rocks up, you know, living his best disco fever life. I don't know. That's what I'm gonna. His fashion choice was my biggest gasp.
Best dialogue I have. Oh, for heaven's sake, Melinda, you're missing the Great Pyramids of Cheops. It's a once in a lifetime and you're worried about your stupid toenails.
Same scene. I went with, I can't stand it when my toenails are chipped.
Hang on. It's for me, it would have to be the, what's that smell? It burns. It's the smell of gold. I will probably be using that in my everyday today. I'm not gonna lie. Someone farts. Oh, what's that smell? It's the smell of gold.
That's camp. I have the photo shoots.
I went with
All
the
of
photo
them.
shoots. Anytime any modelling takes place, camp.
I'm going to agree with that.
And for our Nasty November special category, nastiest moment, I went with, it's a bit of a stretch in this one because it's not really, it falls into that category of films that Tories probably never watched all the way through and just put it on the video nasties list because it's actually not that extreme. So I went with Melinda having her throat torn out.
I agree. I went with that as well.
I
barely see anything.
Even though I had sort of no sort of connection at all, it was the bride who was killed, because I mean it was quite vicious. Like, even though you see her for a few seconds beforehand, and she's lying on a table and her guts have been torn out, and they then cut back to it as well, probably because the scene cost a lot of money to actually put together. But like, I don't know, it just seemed like, oh man, damn, because I was beginning to like that shopkeeper quite a bit, and I felt kind of sorry for him a little bit. His bride's just being devoured.
Yeah.
Is that a bit like Blood Feast?
It felt a bit like Blood Feast.
A bit like Blood Feast.
For ratings, I give it 4 sessions of painting your stupid toenails next to the Great Pyramids of Cheops out of 10.
I give it 3 chipped toenails out of 10.
I will give it 3 chipped toenails out of 10.
Most famous toenails on this podcast.
Yeah.
And is it a masterpiece, trashterpiece, trash, basic, or a camp or bunch of fun? I went with a trashterpiece.
I went with trash.
I'm going to go with the trashterpiece because there's going to be certain parts in this that I'm 100% going to remember, and I do feel like, even though I rip these films apart, I do absolutely enjoy it, and I could have watched it twice. It wasn't painful watching a second time.
Can you just like cut it together? Can you do an
just,
edit for me and I'll watch it again? Just get rid of the guff.
It's available on DVD and video on demand. And if you enjoyed this, I recommend checking out, obviously, Zombie Flesh Eaters.
Yeah, I completely agree. Zombie Flesh Eaters. If you enjoyed any part of this film, because it's a direct rip-off of Zombie Flesh Eaters.
And yeah, if you've seen this film by chance,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I feel bad.
if you have anything to say about it, we're Horror Cult Trash over on Facebook and Instagram, Horror Cult Trash on Twitter. We're on TikTok as well. They're like Gaz92 on Letterboxd, Gazmo205 on Instagram, and GazCruise92 on Twitter.
I'm Chris Barker823 on Instagram and Letterboxd.
And we're Gasp Horror Fest across all social media as well. If you have any films better than Dawn of the Mummy, please submit them to us for our festival. And give us a rate, review, subscribe on iTunes, like a follow on everything else. Xander, thank you for joining us again. Where can we find you? Where can we find your art? Where can we find VideoX?
You can find my art on Instagram under Xanderphobic Arts, and on VideoX we're now streaming, so all the Spotify, Amazon Music, that kind of thing. It's VideoX, all one word.
Amazing. Thank you for joining us again and bringing another trashterpiece to our attention.
Well, thank you very much for having me on today. I've loved it.
Next week, it feels kind of funny saying this now after what we've just discussed. Next week we're discussing 2 of the best horror films ever made. Next week on Tuesday we're being joined by the Unbanned and Rewound Horror Podcast to discuss Night of the Living Dead, and on Friday we will be discussing, for this month's original versus remake, The Thing.
So there you go, Xander.
Thank you. It's gonna make up for me. There you go. You're treating me after watching this horrible film. It was my choice.
Yes, we'll be back same time, same place next week.
Bye.
Bye.